This is the first of a three-part training that's all about learning. In this part we're going to look at mental rehearsal. In the next part we're going to look at learning from experience. A lot of people talk about learning from their mistakes and they never do. They just make the same mistakes over and over again. Now, learning from experience is not an accident, it's a process. It's a very simple process, and we'll look at that step by step in the next part of this training. And then we'll put the two together, so we've got learning from experience and mental rehearsal, and together they make a really, really powerful learning toolkit. It almost goes without saying that the faster and better you can learn, the faster and easier you will achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. There's a good chance that you've come across mental rehearsal before. It's not a secret. It's talked about in one form or another in most personal development books and training. If you have seen it before, we're going to look at some of the subtleties of it today. What are the bits that really make it work, and what are the bits that sometimes people don't get right? If you've not seen it before, by the end of this video, you're going to have a very powerful process that's just going to help you achieve whatever you're looking to achieve a little bit easier. Whether you've seen this before, whether you've not seen it before, watch this video more than once. If you haven't seen it before, take what you learned today, go away and apply it, and then come back and look through for the subtleties that you might not have spotted first time. If you have seen this before, then that kind of tells me that you're already advanced enough in your personal development journey to know that if you read a book more than once, you'll get different information from it the second time. Not because the information's changed, but because you've changed, you're in a different place. And it'll be the same with these training videos as well. So what is mental rehearsal? Very simply, it's practicing something in your mind before you do it in real life. It's used a lot by sports people. Think of a tennis player before they serve the ball. They're going to spend a few moments thinking in their mind how high they're going to throw the ball, how hard they're going to hit it, and whereabouts in the court they want it to land. And they'll probably spend a few minutes visualizing that happening. It's not only applicable in the world of sport though, as you'll see in a few minutes. The great thing about mental rehearsal is it's not something that was made up by people who write personal development books. This is something that's backed up by science, and probably the most famous study was carried out by the University of Chicago. And they took teams of basketball players and they profiled them. How good were they at taking free throws, which is basically the basketball equivalent of a football penalty kick. So they found out on average, maybe out of 100 shots, how many would each player expect to get in. And then they split them into three groups. Group one was the control group, and they just did their normal practice. They didn't do anything else. Group two did their normal practice, and then on top of that, they spent an hour a day on the court practicing taking free throws. And group three, they did their normal practice as well, but instead of doing physical practice, they did mental rehearsal, and we're going to go through that process in detail in just a moment. But what was really fascinating is by the end of the month's trial, the control group who hadn't done anything different hadn't made any progress. No great surprises there. The group who had spent an additional hour practicing every day, as you would expect, had made a measurable improvement in their performance. But what's really fascinating is the group that hadn't done any physical practice but had done mental rehearsal had improved almost to the same level as the people who'd done the physical practice. Now that doesn't mean that you never have to do practice on anything again, but what it means is when you take your physical practice of whatever it is that you're doing and add mental rehearsal to it, it's going to magnify the results that you get. So here's the process. It's really simple. There are a few bits I think some people don't get right. Now, not getting it 100% right, it'll still work, but it's not as effective as it can be. So if you're going to do this, why not make it as good as you can? Step one is get yourself back into the moment. Let's use the basketball analogy again. So the first thing is imagine yourself back on that basketball court, wearing what you'd be wearing, seeing what you'd be seeing, hearing what you'd be hearing, and feeling what you'd be feeling. Imagining the hoop in front of you and feeling the weight of the ball in your hand. Then, very, very simple, just take that shot in your mind. But here's the bit some people don't get it quite right. It's not about making 100 of 100 shots go in, because that's not reality, is it? And we're not trying to trick our mind here, we're trying to teach our mind, we're trying to train our mind. Anybody who does play basketball will know the second that the ball leaves their hand, whether it's going in, they don't need to wait for visual confirmation. It's all about the feel of it. And we've got to replicate that when we're doing it as a mental process. So we imagine that ball in our hand, we imagine launching it. What does it feel like? And if it doesn't feel quite right, we don't visualize that ball going in, we visualize it missing. And then exactly replicating reality, we make a slight adjustment. And what happens when we throw that? And we do this again and again until we get to the point that we can get that ball in the hole. And then we practice that over and over again, build up the muscle memory. Just as had happened in real life though, after you've taken a bunch of shots, your arm's going to start to get tired and you might have to make some adjustments for that. So, as I said, what we're doing is absolutely replicating reality. And the final stage, once you've practiced this and you've made improvements in your mind, you step out of that moment and then you imagine watching yourself almost through somebody else's eyes. Great way to do this is imagine a screen in front of you. It could be a video screen or a TV screen. Make it larger than life and imagine yourself on that screen taking these shots. And when you do that, make it you on your best day. Actually make it you on your best day plus 10%. And watch yourself in this movie taking these shots and doing really, really well. So there's the process. I told you it was easy. First stage is get yourself back into the moment. Imagine yourself doing whatever it is that you're doing in this activity. Make any adjustments and practice it. Second stage, step out of the moment. Imagine yourself on a screen, you on your best day, plus a little bit, doing this activity over and over again. Programming your mind to this is how I'm going to react in this situation. This is how I'm going to perform in this situation. So let's take what we've learned so far and apply it into a different situation. And once you've seen this work in more than one scenario, it's going to be very easy for you to apply it in wherever you want to in your life. So, something a lot of people have difficulty with is speaking in public. This could be speaking at a friend's wedding, or it might be doing a presentation at work. And sometimes it's based on the fact that they've not got any experience of speaking in public and so they think it's going to be difficult. Or sometimes it's based on past experience that they have done it and it didn't go as well as they wanted it to. So the process is exactly the same. Imagine yourself standing in front of the room full of people and delivering that speech. Thinking about all the things that are going to happen, what you're going to be feeling like. Are there any words that potentially you might find difficult to get out of your mouth? Practicing them. Practice remembering your words. How are you going to remember what you're going to say? But actually in this situation, I'd start a little bit before that, because when people do have difficulties with public speaking, very often the difficulty starts not when they stand up to speak, but when they're sitting down waiting to speak because they talk themselves out of it. Maybe going through the lines in their head over and over again, saying things to themselves like, I hope I don't forget what I'm going to say, and talking themselves out of it. So I'd start their mental rehearsal at that point, imagining myself maybe doing some deep breathing to keep myself calm, maybe thinking about the other people in the room so that I'm putting the spotlight on them and not on me, and thinking about when I stand at the front, I'm going to just pause for a moment and take a breath before I start speaking. And then I'm going to carry that through. I'm going to stand at the front of the room, actually do that, take my breath, look at the people in the room, and then start speaking. And then go through the whole process. Exactly the same as we did with the basketball. Anything that we think might not go 100% right, just make tweaks to it. It's amazing what things kind of come into your mind here that you perhaps wouldn't have thought about, that you need to be aware of. Once you've done that and you're happy that you've made some improvement, once again take a step back from that and imagine this through someone else's eyes. Again, maybe using the cinema screen analogy as a way to do it. So again, follow the two-step process. Be there in the moment, rehearse it, step out of the moment and watch yourself doing it. There you go, I told you it was a very simple process. Or more realistically, it's a very simple skill, because it is a skill, and the more that you practice it, the better you will get at it. Don't let that stop you though, start using it really, really soon. And actually the best thing that you can do as soon as you finish watching this video is decide when are you going to use this next, or when are you going to use it for the first time? And that's going to stop it being one of those interesting things that you heard about that never actually used, and turn it into something that is an actual skill, a tool in your toolkit that you can use to increase your learning. So why not post on this video and post a comment, let us know what you're going to use it for, and then comment afterwards what you did use it for, what benefits you saw from it, what little tweaks do we need to add to it to make it really work for you. If you're not signed up to the mailing list, now would be a great time to do that. You get a great free gift just for signing up, and then I can let you know when the second part of this training goes live. If you're watching this and the second part's already live, still sign up to the mailing list, because I'll let you know of any future trainings that I think might be useful to you. Whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, have a great one. And you know, it's likely that there's going to be some problems, challenges and frustrations ahead. But how you respond to those is purely your choice. Remember that in life, problems, challenges and frustrations are inevitable. Having a bad day because of them is purely optional. So make a choice now, decide. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. Decide to have a great day, and I'll see you soon.